This video demonstrates the procedure to disassemble, clean, lubricate, and reassemble the Ohio Ordnance Model 1918 A3 Browning automatic rifle. This reproduction of the BAR is a beautiful piece of workmanship, and we encourage proper care to maintain its prime condition. Before handling any gun, we start by ensuring the gun is unloaded and safe to handle. Ensure the safety is on. Remove the magazine. Point the muzzle in a safe direction. Rack the operating handle and hold open. Visually inspect the chamber to ensure it is clear. Leave the trigger cocked. We recommend you have the following tools: safety glasses, a pry tool to lift up the locking arms of the pins. This tool should have a thin, sharp tip in order to fit under the tabs. The pressure surface should be wrapped with tape to prevent scratching of the receiver. Medium zip ties, a 30-06 casing, a magnet, a hard non-metallic strip to push the pin locking arms, a screwdriver with variable tips, blocks of wood or similar material to help guide the recoil spring, and finally, a thin wood skewer for aligning the pinholes. A word of caution before we start disassembly. It is essential that the trigger be cocked prior to removal of the assembly from the receiver. If the hammer were to be released, jamming can occur, making removal of the trigger assembly impossible. Our first step is to remove the trigger assembly. Pry up the retaining pin handles. Insert zip ties underneath them to prevent damage to the receiver finish. Swivel the handles free. Remove both pins. Slip the trigger assembly out of the receiver. The next step is to remove the handguard. Remove the two screws which secure the handguard to the slide. Note that these screws have very wide slots. Be careful to use a proper fitting screwdriver with a thick tip to avoid damaging the slots. After removing the screws, slide the handguard forward to free it from the slide. Remove the sheet metal baffle which slips between the slide and the barrel. The next step is to remove the piston cylinder. Pry up the retaining pin arm and, using a zip tie, swivel the piston cylinder retaining pin to its free position and slip it from the receiver. Rack the charging handle back a couple of inches to the rear and hold open. Then slide the piston cylinder assembly forward to disengage it from the piston. It may require some wiggling to get it off. Next, we will remove the recoil spring. We strongly urge you to wear safety glasses for this operation. This is the recoil spring, and this is the recoil spring guide. With your forefinger, press inward on the guide and incrementally rotate the knurled face of the guide about 90 degrees. When the guide is clear of its retaining groove, it will expand outward. Remove it from the receiver. Note, be careful not to let the recoil guide slip from your finger while under pressure from the spring, as it could become a flying projectile. Next, we remove the pin which joins the operating handle, the piston slide, the link assembly, and the cocking sleeve together. This operation involves aligning the pinholes in the receiver mechanism in order to remove the pin. Push the operating handle fully forward and then back to the rear stock by 5/16 of an inch. Observe the pinhole in the right side of the receiver. Move the slide to align its hole with the receiver hole. If aligned properly, the end of the pin should be exposed. Insert the guide rod into the hole just behind the operating handle and push the pin out the right side of the receiver. Slide the operating handle out of its track and remove from the receiver. The next step is to remove the slide and piston assembly. At the rear end of the slide, reach in with a finger and slide the cocking sleeve forward and out of the grooves of the slide. Slide the operating piston assembly towards the muzzle and remove it from the receiver. The last step is to remove the bolt assembly. Using an empty 30-06 cartridge casing, pry up the bolt guide tab on the side of the receiver. Simultaneously, with the thumb and forefinger, grasp the link assembly at the end of the bolt and slide the entire assembly out of the receiver. We recommend you clean the barrel and the parts as you would with any other gun. We recommend strongly that you clean the inside diameter of the gas cylinder tube with a 60 caliber wire brush to remove any buildup of soot. Lubricate all parts with a good quality gun oil, including a thin coating of gun grease on sliding parts. We recommend a very thin coating of oil be applied to the ID of the gas cylinder using a lightly oiled patch. In this step, we will insert the bolt assembly. Insert the end of the bolt into the receiver. Make contact with the locking tab and gently press down. This will cause the locking tab to deflect and allow the bolt to slip into battery. Cycle a couple of times. Next, we will insert the slide. Insert the slide and piston assembly into the receiver grooves. Verify the correct orientation of the cocking sleeve and insert it into the slide while engaging the grooves at the rear of the slide. Next, we will install the connecting pin. Insert the operating handle into its grooves in the receiver, push all the way forward and then back by 5/16 of an inch. Note the pinhole through the side of the receiver. Note that this link assembly at the end of the bolt will be connected by the pin along with the other components. Using a wood skewer, align the holes in the receiver, the slide, the cocking sleeve, and the link assembly. Insert the connecting pin. Ensure the pin is embedded in the receiver approximately 1/8 of an inch. Slide the operating handle to the rear to lock the components and cycle a few times to ensure proper function. Next, we will insert the recoil spring. Strips of wood or other material can help with guiding the spring into the piston. Insert the recoil spring into the piston and then insert the guide into the spring. With the guide face at a horizontal plane and using a forefinger, press the guide face into its seat. Incrementally, push in and turn the knurled face with the forefinger until it is vertical. The guide will snap into place. Note, when seated, the forward face of the guide must be flush with the wall of the receiver. Now we will insert the gas cylinder. Stand the rifle on its butt and rack the operating handle back to retract the piston assembly. Carefully slide the gas cylinder over the piston. Ensure that the bracket connecting the cylinder and the barrel are properly meshed. In this step, we will install the cylinder pin, the baffle, and the handguard. Insert the gas cylinder pin and, using a zip tie, swivel the handle into the lock position. Insert the baffle plate between the barrel with the slide cutout pointing towards the buttstock. Slide the handguard into place over the slide, ensuring the baffle plate engages the grooves in the wood. Screw the stock into place. Trigger installation. Place the trigger assembly into the housing. Check safety on and insert the pins using zip ties. We thank you for watching this video and hope it will assist you in caring for this historic weapon.